Welcome back, everybody. Kathy Arbor here, and today we're going to be doing this little mushroom house. And I've had this picture in my to-dos for a while, and then I saw Devin Rex for art say that she would love to see a little village, fairy village made of mushrooms. So that's what we're doing today. So I have this plus a traceable ready for all members of my Patreon and my YouTube membership, and that's for all levels. So if you're interested in just the traceable, it is $2.99 a month. So $2.99 a month, and you get to download all the previous traceables that I have provided. And there's also some digi backgrounds for you to play with also. So you can download that. It's already up there for you if you want to paint along. And what I've already done, I'm just doing mine on a file folder, and I love file folders to practice my art before I do a major canvas, just so that I know what's involved, and maybe I want to try some different brush work. Hey, Dot. And I don't want to paint on my canvas. So I tried in file folders. And the reason why I use a lot of file folders is because it's strong enough to hold a lot of medium. And oops, there we go. And it's good for watercolor even. And you can get file folders in all sorts of colors and whites right to black. And they're quite nice I really like them. So if you want to give them a try, even for practicing, if you're not totally confident in your painting ability right now, it's a great way to practice what we're doing. So, and you can use old file folders too, because you're just going to gesso over them anyways. So I've already gessoed this one, and all I use is a Liquitex student grade. This one is. You can use whatever. You could even use acrylic paint for your walls, like a prep paint would do also if you want to do that. And for right now, what I want to do before I trace that onto my folder is I want to do a background first. So there's a lot of trees, and it's kind of a blurry background. So I want to do trees. I want to do maybe some of the grass here, and then we'll trace this onto that once it's dry. So it's no specific marks. You could actually use a sponge because it's kind of a blurry looking background. So maybe we'll do that. I'll put this aside. And I like using sea sponge because it gives different marks. It's not a consistent mark that you're going to notice like a stamp. And you can squeeze it to change the shape, or there's all different kinds of ways of using them. And you can cut them up too if you want to cut them up. I think I'm going to put, let's see, I'm going to move this over, and I'm just going to put my palette here because you don't need to necessarily see that. And I think that's close enough for you. So I have my palette, and I'm just using craft paint. And the reason why I'm using craft paint is it's inexpensive. and it's a great paint to use if you're practicing. And I just use my artist grade on canvases. Once in a while, I'll pull them out if I want to try them, if I want that translucent look. But these work just great for your practice or your journaling. If you want to just be doing journaling, then I would highly recommend just getting a craft paint because they are matte finish and they're not going to stick your pages together, because that's what happens with your artist grade paints. Is they're more or less a gloss, and they do adhere to each other if your book is closed. So having said that, now I suppose you could, I know some people rub wax on them and stuff like that, but I just don't want to do that. I guess I'm kind of lazy that way. But hey, Lena, you're going to Lurk? Awesome. That's fine. You're probably cooking supper right now. So this is Cameo Yellow and Evergreen, and it doesn't have to be those colors. If you have a different green, use that. I also have, let's see, Magnolia White, or if a white, or even your gesso would work also, because gesso is matte finished. So I got that. And let's put that on for now. So as you can see, we have really bright area right in here. And then it darkens to the outer edge. And it's almost a black green. Now I do have a black green here. Let's see, right here. Black green. Or you could use a dark green and add some black to it. Would be the same thing. Must have some goobers in there. Not wanting to come out. Yeah. See, you got to use your paint up, and a better way to do that is in your using your journals. Okay, so I've got different, let's see, different sponges here we can use. So they'll give me a different stamp effect. So I'm going to start off probably with the darker color. Might even add a little bit of, let's see, burnt umber to my mix here. Hey, Joan, good to see you. So a little bit of that, maybe a little bit of the green. I'm going to just pat off the side here. And as you can see here, it's fairly dark around here. And I'm going to go probably down the edge of my paint side here. And you can just move your sponge to one side. Now, see, it goes into here. So I want to do the dark areas first. And then it comes up here. And then it's fairly dark on this side. Now the tree is covering most of this, so I'm not too worried about if there's some white in there. Just, I can add a little bit of this other green here. Now it does get a little bit lighter right in this area, so that right here. But I can also add that to the side here, because we're going to be painting over top of a lot of this, so you don't have to worry too much about if you missed or if there's a mark you don't like, because it's more or less going to be painted over top of. This is gives it a nice effect. I like doing these. Bring it down into here a little bit. Okay. Now I'm just going to take some yellow here. I'm not even going to rinse my sponge. And I'm going to start right in here. And I'm just going to lightly put some of that yellow on top of this wet paint. So I want kind of it blending in, so there'll be a variance of tone here. There's a little more brightness in here, so I'm going to put a little bit more, maybe even some white with that yellow. Lighten it up even more right in here, because that's going to be a light area in there. And then you can also use another palette. So let's take some white and some yellow. And then I'm going to go around the outer edge here. And I still haven't cleaned my sponge. It's still, and this is where you kind of get some really cool combinations when you're doing this. All right, now I want it to be a little bit cleaner, so I'm going to take another sponge here. And these aren't wet. And I'm just going to dip into my yellow and my white, and I'm going to start in the middle, and I can just pounce. It's the brightest area, so I'm going to pounce in the middle first, basically, and then spread it out into that other green. But I don't want it like a circle of flat color. You want to see some of that background through there. Okay, and down here we have quite a bit of light area in there, so we're going to add a little bit more in here, maybe a little bit of that yellow there. I'm going to add a little bit more yellow just around the edges here. And let's see, I think that's pretty good for the background. Maybe just a few. If you think you've overdone it, all you have to do is take that darker color again and just go back over top. There is a little bit of a different green in there. Depends how fussy you want to get. Okay. Because we can go back over top of some of this later. So I'm just going to put these sponges in my water just so they don't harden up on me. Now, let's dry that. And we'll go on to the next step. Hey, Christopher, good to see you. So make sure it's good and dry. Yes, I'm using acrylic paint. Now, I am going to, hopefully this will work. Or should I use, oh, we'll try it. I'm just thinking of if it will be dark enough for you to see. So this is our traceable that's available to all members on Patreon and my YouTube membership, and it's already there. So if you want to paint along, you're more than welcome to download it and just stop the video or the recording, and then you can catch up if you want. A lot of times what I do when I'm watching somebody in a class or on YouTube is I'll stop the video if I'm painting along while I'm doing it, or if, sometimes I'll just watch and then go back to it again, because then I know what to expect. If you just watch it the first a little bit and then come back to it, it's a little easier to understand it. All right, so let's see if we can, basically I'm just going to put in the mushrooms here. We'll see if they show or not. I'll just do a few. I'm not going to put the dots on. I'm just going to basically map out where I want all of these mushrooms. As far as the details, you don't have to put those in yet. And they're fairly easy. You should be able to just put those in freehand anyways. But I'll put in where these are, and basically just the roof line, I guess you could say. And where all the other little, let's see what we got here. Well, it helps if you put the paper right side up. Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. See? Even experienced painters make mistakes. Now, typically I would, once you get comfortable with drawing, and that's why I always say, get your sketchbook and draw. The more you do, the better you get, and the more comfortable you are with drawing. Doesn't show a whole lot, but it should allow me. Now, if you had a black carbon, maybe that would work better for you. I don't have that here. This is a gray. And I don't think I don't know if the white would show or not. I could try it. Or a lot of people just trace it and paint in between each thing. So what does that mean? They'll paint around the mushroom for the background. A lot of painters will do that. If you like painting that way, go ahead and do that. Okay, I can see that a bit. Let's see. Yeah, this should show it's lighter up here. This is my tree. And you can change the pattern up. Maybe you want to add, I don't know, more flowers or more trees. Do whatever you want. Just have fun with it. Let's see. Okay, let's see that. Okay, I should be able to see the stepping stones that I've made here. So I'm just gonna show where they are. They don't have to be exact. You could make more if you wanted to, or you could change it. Make them into flagstone if you wanted to. Okay, so that's okay. So that's basically what I'm going to do there. So you can see a bit. Hey, Devin, where is the reference photo? This reference photo is from let me think. Photoshop. Photoshop? I think it's Photoshop. I had a licensed from them. I think it's Photoshop. It's not Pixabay or Unsplash. It was. I had a month of membership with them, so I just downloaded the ones I wanted, and that's where this one came from. Hey, Tinker. Yeah, it is very cute. It was funny because I think it was in chat, you mentioned something about Mushroom Village or something. I thought, oh, I should do that. I had this sitting in my files for a while, so I thought that'd be a good time to pull it out. All right, so what we can do is, let's see. Normally what I like to do is start from the back and work my way forward. So we could start off with some of these trees. They're kind of blurred out too, so they could be very similar to the background color that's behind here. So a little more yellow in it to give it a blurred out effect. And the lines could be softened with dry brushing. Oh, a Kathy's? Yeah, it could be. All right. I've just found you recently and have really enjoyed. Oh, thanks, Tinker. Awesome. I'm glad you're finding it useful. That's what I'm here for. I want to teach you guys to be creative and find the easiest and most economical way of arting. You got any questions? Feel free to ask away, because that's why I'm doing live. So it's if you have questions as you're doing, I can answer them for you. All right. So this background, oh, look at my hands already. I'm a messy painter. All right. So this is kind of a sienna color, burnt sienna, or even a golden brown would work. We'll go with, we'll start off with the burnt sienna. So I have the burnt sienna and the craft paint. So I'm just going to put a dab there. And I have a little bit left on there. And we're going to use, let's see. Well, I'm going to use this Princeton Velvet Touch angled shader. It's a 1/4 inch. I like a really, see how beautiful that edge is. I love a good edge, and these are fantastic, I must admit. And if you're interested in getting those, if you're in the US, this is where I get them from. So they're a whole lot cheaper there. So let's put just a coat. And I always do a base coat, so you don't have to worry about brush strokes too much. Or if it's a little bit on the transparent side, not to worry, because we will go over top of this quite a few times with different colors. And a lot of times the color that's underneath enhances it anyways. And being that it's tree, they have many colors of brown and gold, and depending on how the sun's shining on them, they have highlights that are really pale. Now you can get, there's some other fairly reasonable brushes too, like Simply Simmons. I used those for years and years and years. So if you want to try those, those are a good make also that I enjoyed. Are my favorite brushes. Awesome. Yeah, they're excellent brush. Now, to get that glowish effect, we can do that after this dries, but I want to put on a little bit of this darker color, which is more of an umber shade, but I don't want it too drastic a difference in color. So I'm going to add some of this, what was it again? Yeah, burnt sienna. And I'm going to add it to the edge of this tree. And if it's kind of streaky, that's even better. Because trees are very rough looking, so streak it up. And we'll be putting a kind of a haze over top of this once it's dry, so it kind of sets it back into the background again. Okay, so that one's done, and we may as well do this big one here. As you can see, it's fairly big, so I'm going to get a bigger brush to do that. Let's see, we got a 3/8, and this one is a little darker, so I'm going to It's mostly dark. See, it goes out like that. So I'm going to use more of that umber, dark umber. But I still want it to have some streaking in it. And it takes up most of the side here. We'll add to it with some moss and that type of thing. This little mushroom kind of sits on it like a little hill. So it kind of goes down. I can see my little mushrooms in here. And even if you accidentally go over some of those mushrooms, don't worry about it. You can always put them in. That's the nice thing about acrylics, is you can always repaint stuff. More. It gets fairly dark back here. Now, I'm not going to put all of the flowers in. You can if you want. You could use the photo and put all those flowers in. I'm not going to. I'm going to have mostly moss in mine. But you want a little bit of variance in the colors you're putting in here. Okay, that's good for there. Let's see what we got on this side. That's mostly the little house and stuff, but there is a little bit of dark in here. So I'm just going to dab some of these light areas here. Just a bit of this brown. Set that back a little bit. Just on the corner, basically. So you can leave some of that green showing through. Okay, so we do have some trees behind there now. You don't have to put those in. Depends how much you want to do. I'm lucky enough to have some gorgeous handmade brushes. I watched them being made. Awesome, Dot. It must be beautiful. Thanks, Devin. Okay, so I'm going to put probably this one here behind it. And let's see, it just goes past that tree there. I'm not going to get too crazy detailed. It kind of hides behind this one. And then it comes through here. But like I said, we're going to change these up a little bit. So let's see if that one came through here. Maybe it... There. Just a little bit different. There wasn't really anything. Well, we could put one in on the side here just to give you this a little bit of balance as far as the brown is concerned. So we could add a little bit of this. Just a tree peeking up right in there. Maybe right there. Bring it down. All right, so we got those in. So let's give this a dry. You want to have it good and dry. All right, so as you can see, it kind of looks almost misty back here, but the mushrooms all are pretty visible, so there's no misty look over top of them. So what we need to do is do that mist on the background, so over top of these trees here first before we put in those mushrooms. So what we're gonna do, if you have, let's see, this can be done in a couple different ways. It's almost a yellowish look. So we can either use um, a baby wipe. So this is very easy to do with a baby wipe. Or we could use a dry brush method. The dry brush method, sometimes you get a little bit of streaking in. So I'll show you what this is the easiest way of doing it. And all you have to do is dip your finger in some of that white. And this is kind of D.D. Willingham style. And then lightly swirl it. And you want a damp baby wipe. You don't want it dry. And then just swirl it in that area over top of those trees. And we're going to just set it back. Yeah, it goes right into here. Okay. Now you notice there's some really bright there. So what I'm going to do, we have the yellow over top now. I'm going to take some of that white, and with I've got a Deerfoot stippler here, but I don't want a lot of paint on my brush. So you almost get another piece of paper and just dab it off. And what I'm going to do is look at the real bright areas, so right in here, and just going to lightly go over in a circular pattern that very bright area with this white. There's a little bit in there too. Okay. So you can decide how much you need. because it kind of hides behind all this stuff in here. Kind of foggy looking. Almost goes into here too. And I'm just, it's not much on my brush. I just dab into the, wipe it off on my paper. And just go into those foliage areas a little bit. Okay, like that. And then now I want to take a little bit more, or you could use your sponges again. And there's some really bright areas, so I'm just going to take that and dab some areas of white. And a little bit in here. Now, I'm not copying this reference photo at all, so you can figure out how much you want to put in. All right. So that gives it a nice misty, maybe bright fog in the morning. Now what we can do is we can start painting towards us now. So we can start putting in some of these mushrooms. So these mushrooms are a pretty bright red. So I have primary red. So you can get basically any red you want. Red typically is fairly transparent. So we'll see how transparent this is. If it is, we might have to put a coat of white over top of our mushrooms first for the red to be as bright. So I'm just going to test it first, and I'm going to take my brush. Let's see. That's not bad. So we can use, looks like we can use it. And we can also use a little bit of white in there if you want to have it more on the pinky side. We're going to do some shadowing with these guys too. Let's see, where's the other one? Down in here somewhere. Oh, I see it now. Little guy right there. All right. So I'm just going to paint all these in with a base coat. I'm not worrying about the shading or the highlighting. We'll put that on after I'm done the base coat. This one's kind of tucked in behind the tree here a little bit. Like that. For December, it may be cool to create this same scene with snow cover. That's a good idea. Yeah, the little sprite or fairy, what do they do on Christmas? Could do a whole story. They being mischiefy, or what are they getting into? they spying on the kids for Santa? Let's see. That one goes up like that. I'm just going to take it over to the edge of the page. I do like doing the elves. They're fun. Thinking stories up. What about you guys? Do you like elves and fairy stuff or not? Just wondering. Some people, they don't care for it. It's not their cup of tea, I guess. Yeah, making a little snowman. Hey, good. Let's see. This will go. Let's see how this goes. I got some snowman ideas too. Got some cute snowman that I drew up. I'll be showing you. I'll probably do those in December. Let's see. Can't see my lines that well right now, so I'm kind of guessing here. You love fairies? I like the way you do elves and fairies. Very fun. Thanks, Devin. I like them, but I prefer to paint the real thing from life when I can. Are you seeing fairies, Todd? You gotta take a picture. I gotta know that. All right, so that's like that. Actually, I'm just gonna paint the stem in because it would be reflecting the color of the mushroom anyways. Now I see the background through this one, so I might have to go. I don't mind a bit of color, but we'll see. I might have to put a layer of white on there. This guy goes across like that, I believe. It's kind of hard to see. And this one's pink, more or less pink, but I'm going to put it red too, and then we'll color it with a pink color later, just to get a color on there. You could look up mushrooms too and make your own on this. Doesn't have to be these. There's all kinds. There's hundreds and hundreds. When I painted, oh, cool. Yeah, if you can get out there and find the stuff, definitely the way to go. It is nice to paint from actual items in front of you. Definitely. I think, and there's this guy here, but he's white. So I think that's good for the fairies. Okay. Okay, so there's this part of the roof here, I believe. And we'll put a little bit of white I don't need a lot, so, and then just a dab of pink. And kind of right in here. And then there's like a grass area that's on top of the roof. Like that. And let's see, that goes up. That. I think I got it. That. And then we can, let's put this on top. Now these aren't exactly dry, so they're going to mix a little bit, but that's okay. I'm going in the direction how they would be formed. So from the center point down. That'll give some streaks, which is good. In the paint. And I'm going to leave a little bit of the color of red on the bottom. Just a smidge. Kind of like that. This one also was a little bit more on the pinky side. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that on here. Take some of that off my brush. More or less dry brush. Just the top. Like that. These guys also, they're a little bit white on the top. And I'm just going to flick down. This is more of a dry brush than anything else. It'll be a little bit brighter on the very top. We can put that in later. This one too is a little on the brighter side on the top. I'm just gonna this one maybe a smidge on the side. It's kind of being sheltered by this other one, and then there's just a smidgen around the bottom like that. Now this one up here, it's got a little bit on the top that's fairly bright. This is why I like these angled flat. So then you're able to use the very tip. The chisel is nice on it. So it's a little bit on the dry brush as it goes down. These mushrooms are rough, so you don't have to have a smooth finish to them. All right. Let's do this top part here. So just on the top mainly. So dry brushed. It's a very light pressure I'm doing on my brush when I'm doing the dry brush. Okay, and then it comes down a little bit, mainly on this side. A bit more on my brush. It's pretty bright right here. You got to think of the shape that you're painting also. It helps you with how to gradually ease up on color or pressure on your brush. So we know that these are round and the light source is coming down on it. So we're not going to have much color back here as far as highlight. Okay, and this one here doesn't have a whole lot. We're going to add a little bit more darker color in these, but it's being sheltered by this one. So we're not seeing any highlight on the top of this one, but we want to put in now a little bit of shading. So with the red, what you can do is get a little bit of purple. So if you have a dioxazine purple, let's see. If you don't have purple, you can mix blue and red together. So a dark blue and a dark red. So this is dioxazine purple. So it's a very rich color. And purple's really great for shading pretty well anything. So we have right along the edge here. This is just the purple I'm using. And it'll be a little bit on the transparent side also. Let's see. And then I'll just flick from the edge up into the, and that'll give it just enough to show that it's curved right at that edge. Oop, get some white in there. And then underneath it's fairly dark. So right in here, this is where the stem is. And it's so dark you can hardly see the difference from the stem onto this other mushroom. And it's really, really dark. So we can add quite a bit of this to the top part of this one, because it's quite dark. And it's kind of sloping, so it kind of slopes down like this in here. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and then I'll come back to it. So you can't paint too long on one area, because then once it starts to dry and you try to paint over it, it actually picks the paint up and makes a mark on your painting. It's hard to cover. So I'm just going on the bottom now, and just a bit, and adding a little bit of that dark. And a little bit in here. Doesn't need a lot, just a bit. And this one's a little darker. We can add that. And I'm going to add some on this one. It doesn't show it, but I'm going to put some in, just so that it's bringing that color to another area of my painting. And this one has quite a bit. Now, I didn't put the white in there, so I'll have to come back and do that. This is fairly dark in here. Okay. And maybe a smidgen in here. Not much, just a bit. And these guys, well, let's just put a little. All right, now this here needs to be redone, because I can still see the pattern of the background through it. I'm going to give that another go. Sometimes, depending on the paint you're using, you might need 2 or 3 coats. Okay, like that. And then on the edge here, it's like it's been cut almost, so you're seeing the inside the mushroom, and it's kind of a off-white, I guess you could say. So you can take a little bit of golden brown, or if you have a parchment color, or titanium buff would be another you could use. And I'm just going to add a little bit to this white. And I just want a creamy color. And we're going to go on top of here. And it kind of rounds up there. I might need a couple coats of this one. And then, let's see, it goes up, and then goes around. And then narrows down to a small point there. Okay. Now this is also a good color for the mushroom. So these guys here. So I'm going to put the same color in here. It's always good to try and use similar colors throughout your page, just not one area. Makes it more cohesive as far as composition. That's part of composition, is the balance of color, form, texture. Let's see, this one here, so kind of on a slant. That. And I'm just going to put it on these, even though they're a little bit different. Let's make another little batch of that up. Because we'll add some other colors to these ones here. And they go around this one a little bit. That. And this one here. Now I'm using this angled brush, but you use what's comfortable with how you paint. Just because I'm using this brush doesn't mean you have to run out and get it. These brushes can be expensive. I try and wait till sales, or I'll try like an angle brush. If you haven't tried an angle brush, don't get the most expensive angle brush you can find. You don't know if you'll like it. So Princeton Snap has angle brushes that are pretty good, and they're very economical. So you could try them out first, and then if you decide that's the right brush for you, then you can invest in something a little more nicer. Or maybe you like Princeton Snap. A lot of people, that's all they use. Let's see. This little guy, he's basically this color, so I'm going to put him in. And it's kind of a funny shape. Like this. That, and this guy has to be put in too. I think I got them all in there. So just base coated to get that color in. All right, now we'll probably put another coat on some of these. But while we're letting that dry, I'm going to go towards this hill. So it's kind of a mossy green. Let's see what we got here. So we have our greens here. Now, it's a smaller area you're working in, so you're probably going to want a smaller brush. So I like using a Deerfoot stippler. Let's see, smaller ones. Oh, I have one here somewhere. Or if you have a short, bright, it's called a bright, because they're short. It's short bristles on the, where is it? I don't know where I put it. Downy also has an awesome brush. She has one of, this is one of them. Scruffy it's called, and she has one in a smaller somewhere. I know I have one. Oh, this is another Deerfoot stippler. So we could make up, this is the black green. I'm going to add a little bit more green to it though. I want it quite as dark. And I'm going to add a little bit of red to this because it's a little too green. I want it more on the olivey side, and a smidgen of white to lighten it slightly. I don't want it too powerful. A little more. Okay. I'm going to wipe it off on my side paper here. I have a piece of newsprint. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to dab the areas. Because it's fairly dark along the edge here. So I'm going to make that a little bit darker. Goes down into here and kind of sweeps up. Like that. And then I want to make a green up. Wish I could find that. Oh, there it is. Is that it? Where'd it go? Yes, there's a scruffy, a downy scruffy. I want to make up a really bright lime green now. So let's see. Palette knife here. I shouldn't be using my brush to mix colors. It's a good way of wrecking your brushes. I need a little bit of yellow again. And a smidgen of green in there. I want it fairly light. I don't want it too dark, but I don't want it yellow either. That's a good green. Okay. I'm going to take my scruffy. This is dry. And I'm just going to dab it off the side. I like it when it flares out. So now we can just go on the, put this bright green in. And now you're going to have a brighter area. See how it's brighter right along here. And that'll show the shape of the hill too. I'm going to add a little bit of white to that, I think. Just on the top here, just to brighten it. Just a smidge. And then just dab, 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 dab. You want to leave some of that deep green along the edge. I'm not using very much pressure. You can twirl your brush too. That way you don't get a pattern from your brush. It kind of goes to about here, I guess. And then I'm going to add a little bit more white. Just here and there. Brighten it up. Kind of makes it look like little bumps and hills if you have lighter areas. And let's see, it goes down to there. Like that. And let's see. I'm going to add a little bit of yellow again to this mix. Just a little brighter. It's a little bit too green. But I can just go right over top of it. That's the nice thing. A little bit of white. Over the white area. And then just a little taps here and there along the, as you go into this dark area in here. I don't want a lot, but a little bit. Okay. Thanks, Devin. All right, now I think I am going to paint in this area here where the door is. I'm going to let this dry. We'll do the same thing on this tree here and there with that green, but I want to get this area right in here, and that's the wood. So I have the, I think it was golden brown. Let's see. So I have some burnt umber, burnt sienna, and some golden brown. And this, the best way of doing wood grain is using a fairly stiff brush or a bristle brush if you have one. I've got one here. Let's try this. This is a new one. It's a Dynasty 100 1/4 inch, and it's flared and it's uneven. So let's see if this is going to work. So you can do a dark background first. Let's see. Oh yes, this is going to be a nice brush. I can tell right away. Let's put a background on it first though. So I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use the burnt sienna. And I'm just going to do a quick base coat of this over top where that building is. We can add all the foliage and stuff afterwards. So don't worry about going over your foliage because that can be fixed later. I can still see my marks, so that's fine. Okay, let's see. Now there's, I don't know what it is. It's hard to tell what's around this window. Um, I think I might put stone in, so we'll do some uh, grays and stuff later. I'm just worried about this. Well, not worried, but just want to get done this one area of the where the door is. So inside that door area, it's fairly dark, so I'm going to use the really dark umber here to put in that shadowed area of the door. Like that. And now we'll take that brush again and we can add a little of the gold and yeah, some of that dark, and just I have both colors on my brush and I'm going to just scrape it. Dry brush, basically. Too much. I want to see those brush marks. And if you did too much, don't worry about it. Just paint, go and keep doing it until it looks right. Add the background color again. If you think you've got too much, you can let it dry in between. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit, I missed a spot right there. Okay, now I'm going to dry that. And I'm going to scrape some more on it. Christine. All right. Let's see. So I'm just making sure my brush isn't wet. So I can go into some of that lighter color and scraping. Yeah, I like this brush. Real scruffy brush is awesome for so many things. So this is a really good brush to get. Let's see. Then we can go into the dark. Back to the light. And back to this one here. Maybe even some white. Let's see. Be lighter on the top. And inside there, I think. So a little bit on my tip of my brush. There's some okay. Hey, Jilly. All right. Now I'm going to probably take my liner brush, or not liner, my angled. I'm going to darken underneath this lip of the overhang. So I want it a little darker. So I'm going to take the, where did I put it? There it is. Umber, but I have a wet brush. So it's going to be a glaze under here. And under here, it's going to be darker too. Because that door is set back, so it's got quite a bit of a shadow probably at cast. And now let's do the Eve again. So I still have that color that we used. So that was the golden yellow and white. So now I can go over that. Strengthen that up. That, I believe. Yep. Goes like that. And I'm going to make some of that pink up again. So this here is kind of a pinky. So a little bit of white, a smidgen of, and I'm going to just wipe some of that off and just some background showing in there that I don't want. There. Now, we're going to let that dry, and let's go on to the little, I'm going to make stones, and there's a window in here. So I'm going to just take my pencil somewhere. There's one. And put that right in here. It's about there. Like that. So there's my window. And we're going to make a stone color. Let's see. So let's do mostly white. Let's see what we get with this black green. That's not bad. Could add a little red to that. Some blue or purple maybe. Greens. Let's see. Kind of a muddy color. I'm just going to dab with my Deerfoot stippler. And I think I'm going to bring it over here too, beside that door. Maybe bring it into the top part of the roof. There's flowers and stuff in there, but I don't think I want the flowers, so I'm going to change it. That's what you can do. You don't have to stick to one specific thing in the. If you don't like it, take it out. So then I'm going to just dab a few more of this. Put a little bit of white in it, but you can also darken it. Be darker under the eave. That. And then we can even take some brown. Where did I put my brown? In there. That'll change the color of it again. And a little bit of a lighter color. Bit of white. Okay. Now, let's see. I think I want a liner brush now. So I'm going to be doing, let's see. And I'll use this small filbert. So a small filbert here, it's very tiny. It's good enough. It's short as far as the bristles. Some more control. I'm just gonna even out the door here, the shadow. So sharpen it up a bit with this dark umber. And I'm going to put it in the window. There's that. Now I'm going to use a little bit of, where is it? There it is. That golden brown. And just lighten that one area so it's more noticeable that you're going into there's a little hall, or it's overhung the edge of the door. These are the little bits that make the painting, I think, is the detail. Just going to do the outer edge of that door there. And then go back to that color we made for the overhang, and I'm going to just clean up the edge. That. Okay. Now we can do, right in here, we have a bit of grass or moss, whatever you want it to be. And let's see, use this here, I guess. Put this over here so you can see. So we have yellow and a little bit of green, maybe some white, more yellow. I'm going to take some of this off my brush, and we can, actually I should put in a little bit of the darker green first, I think. Right in here. Just to cover that white up, so it's not so in your eye. under here. And then we'll go over top of the areas with the bright green. I don't mind, there's some dark areas in here that are going to show through, but that's fine once we put the grass in. I can still see my pattern through this. I just don't want that blaring white to be showing through. And we'll go over top of it with that, either a sponge or takes a little longer, this type of painting, because there's a lot of little bits of detail. And you don't have to do this all in one shot. Like, you could just do a little bit every day. Would be, most people don't finish a painting right off the bat. There. I guess I could do that there. All right. It's church online quiz. Okay, Dot, have fun. All right. So we have little stones and stuff like that, but we're going to put the green on first. It might be a little bit easier that way. We can add a little bit of overlap later. So let's get out. I think let's try this one, the scruffy brush. So we want that green color. So we mix the green and the bit more. Okay, so there's our scruffy brush. So now we're just going to do this area. So tap, tap, tap. A little bit more. I can always paint things over again too, so don't worry about going on top of something. A little bit more yellow. Okay, we'll just worry about that for now. Now we have a little bit of the darker color. So I just add a little bit of green and black green on my brush. And I'm just going to take it in a few areas in here. It's best to go over some of your areas with a darker color, usually along the outer edge. Just adds a little pockets of either shadow or just a variance of color. Okay, so let's dry that. And now we're going to do our little flagstone areas. They're kind of a lighter sienna color way on the very top. So I'm just going to put a little white with that sienna right up here. So there's a fairly bigger one right here. And one right here. So leave some of that green. And then I switch to the white. So you can add a little bit of white to that now. They don't have to be even because they're rocks. It would be different widths. Some are a little wider as they get down to the bottom here. Just widen them up a little bit. And let's see, put one right here. You can make as many as you want. I'm not really counting them, so. And then there was a few flagstone on the very bottom. Like that. Okay. Now we can take, let's take that scruffy brush again. And let's take some of that green that we made up. And now we can just, in between the rocks, you can just scruff up a little bit of paint overlapping some of that flagstone or whatever it is. Just so that some of the flagstone's covered a little bit with the and I'm just making little tufts of grass on the edges. Now there's some tufts of grass in there. You can start putting those in. We'll start off with just a few, and then you can change the colors of these too. Now, we have this tree here to do. So, I think I need to use a more finer scruffy brush. Let's try a fan. This is a stiff fan, and we want to show that there's bumps and stuff along here. So we want to just show the edge where that sun is shining on them. There's this little shiny areas along the edge of those bumps and stuff. And just show that, but just lightly. This is a very stiff brush, so we're able to get very fine marks. Let's see, brings it into there maybe. That. The way you sweep it will give it a form also. Bit in here. Actually, we could, well, I think I'm going to make this area a little more ferny. I put some green on these though. They are a little bit on the green side on the bottom. Same with these. Like that. Now let's take, what do I want to do? Let's see. I'm going to take my small filbert here, and I'm going to just do a bunch of different leaves and kind of, I don't know, they wouldn't be bushes because it's a miniature house. So I guess they would probably be just different types of grasses here. And we could just change it up with the different colors you have here, mix them up. Here we have some grasses in here. Could have vine of some sort, maybe. I don't know. What would be in? What would small clovers, maybe? 3-leaf clovers. Maybe are growing all over the place. Just give it a little bit of variation of shape. Right now, all of it is kind of small. So we need to make it a little more interesting with a bit of different colors and colors and different marks. Let's put some more grasses in here. A little bit of white. Doesn't have to necessarily represent anything. This is miniature foliage. So who knows what it looks like. A little bit of dark green in here. Some brown. Just trying to make it interesting to the viewer. This would be woods with a little bit of moss on it. So I don't want to get too, well, it depends on how much detail do you want to have on your stuff. because you could spend days really doing this. Bit of white or yellow. Too much. I think that needs to be too dark. Hi, Devin. Have a good day. All right. So let's get some of these marks on the mushrooms. So we have white. I'm going to just dirty it up a little bit. I don't want it too bright. So we have all these mushrooms. Now, in this picture, they're not really showing them standing up, but now I can take the back of my brush too and just make some smaller ones. And okay. Now I'm going to, with this here, I'm going to darken a little bit. So I'm just taking a wet brush with this umber color. Do it umber, maybe not. Maybe a lighter color. I think I'm going to use this green a little bit, or the gray. Yeah, I'm going to use the gray. And I'm just going to go along the edge and shadow a little bit. That could be a little darker in here. That. Just gives it a little more depth. Oh yeah, and we were gonna fix that roof there. This part of the roof had some lines in it. Just a little bit of just like that. And I want to make some of that white with the bit of white with the, I think it was this gold. I'm just going to go over this again. It's not quite dark enough. Like as far as opaque, oh, it's not opaque enough. It's kind of showing through it. There. Some of these could actually be a little bit more, like this one here. A little bit more opaque. And forgot the inside of that one. And oh, I forgot the inside of that one too. Right in here. That. And these have a little bit of a highlight. Too much water on my brush. This one has a little bit of kind of red, I guess. Let's see. Right in the top part here. I'm going to put a little bit more umber in it. Like that. And this one too. These a little bit on the bottom. And this one, a little bit of shadow. We're almost done. Let's see. A little bit of shadow in there. Actually, the gray would do. So right in here would be a little bit shadowed. So I'm just using up the colors I already had made for certain areas. So don't bring in too many new colors. When you're trying to use the colors you have, usually you can make them work with as far as like highlights and stuff like that. And this one here, very dark in there. Right in there, kind of goes up. And then like that. A little dark in there. That. That's better. And this one here. This one should be darker. So I'm basically dry brushing in this area. I don't want it too light. I don't want it too dark either. All right. I think I'm just going to dab some more green in here, just to give it a little bit of interest. I think it's too... Okay, then let's see, a little bit. I know I keep saying I'm done, but I see stuff. um, uh, you hear the puppies? They're starving. Not. Some squiggles. Just to make this a little bit more interesting. Kind of like parts of the tree. All right. I think, well, just one more thing. Where is it? A little bit of highlight on the door. And then I'm done. So like that, I think. All right, I think I'm done. So there it is. Our little fairy village or house or whatever you want to call it. So I hope you'll give it a try and just don't try and do it as quickly as I did. Just take your time and do a little at a time. Thanks, Joan. Thanks, guys. It's fun to do, and you never know if you can do it unless you try, right? So I will let you guys go, and you have a fantastic weekend. And we'll see you on Tuesday. Okay? Stay creative, everyone. Bye for now.